Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be all about a study that King Gustav III of Sweden ordered to study the health effects of coffee. So as we all know, coffee is one of the most commonly consumed drinks worldwide. It had first arrived in Sweden in 1674, but it wasn't all that popular until the 18th century, when it became a popular drink amongst the wealthy. So in 1746, a royal edict was issued against tea and coffee. Due to the misuse and excess of tea and coffee drinking, coffee was then banned completely, but people still continued to drink it. Now, before coffee was banned, heavy taxes were actually imposed on consumption of it, and failure to pay these taxes resulted in heavy fines and the confiscation of cups and plates. So in Sweden, coffee was actually banned on 5 different occasions. These were between 1756 and 1751, between 1766 and 1769, between 1794, 1796, between 1799 and 1802, and then in between 1817 and 1823. Though King Gustav III of Sweden had actually got his dislike for coffee from his father Adolf Fredrik. Adolf Fredrik had actually signed the Misuse and Excess Tea and Coffee Edict in 1960, the year that Gustav was born. Now, the reason Gustav and his father was dodgy about coffee was because they had read a 1715 treatise by a French physician on the dangers of caffeine in tea and coffee. Gustav had been heavily influenced by this, so he viewed tea and coffee drinking as a threat to public health. Gustav was determined to prove coffee's negative health effects, so to do this he ordered a scientific experiment. Now, this experiment is actually credited to being one of the first experiments of its kind. Gustav's experiment was carried out on identical twins. One of the twins had to drink 3 pots of coffee a day for the rest of his life, and the other twin had to drink 3 pots of tea for the rest of his life. Gustav hypothesised that both men would fall ill really quickly and die, thus proving how bad tea and coffee actually was. Now, there are some moral questions about this experiment. The twins that took part in the experiment didn't actually volunteer for it, and neither were they paid for it, though they did actually get something out of it. The twins that were chosen to do the experiment were actually condemned criminals, and they had been sentenced to death. But if the twins agreed to do the experiment, then their sentences would be commuted to life imprisonment. The twins, of course, agreed to these terms. So, what was the outcome of the experiment? Well, the tea drinking man died at the age of 83, but we don't know when the coffee drinking man actually died because the people who were monitoring him for the experiment died before him, but we do know that he died after his tea drinking brother. King Gustav also died before the end of the experiment. The final coffee ban was lifted in 1823, and coffee actually became the most popular drink in Sweden. And Sweden is now one of the countries with the highest coffee consumption in the world. So there's a little video about King Gustav III of Sweden's coffee experiment. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.